Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Laura and I'm a finance coach and entrepreneur. And on this channel, we explore the tools and strategies that help us to level up and live happier and richer lives. Today, we're gonna talk about why I decided to move to Bali in the middle of a global pandemic. But before we jump into it, make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button if you like these types of videos. Let's start with my life in Germany, how I got to move to Bali, my life in Bali, and what's actually next, because I don't know if you can tell, but right now I am not in Bali. So I was born and raised in Germany, but my parents are not German. My parents came from Poland. They came to Germany before I was born, so I actually feel more German than I feel Polish, but maybe it's in my genes, and that's why I didn't want to stay in Germany. So I grew up in a medium-sized town in Germany, and while I was in uni, I met my husband, and once I finished studying, we moved together to Frankfurt. In Frankfurt, we had a pretty decent life. We had a nice apartment, actually a pretty epic apartment that we both really liked. We had both good jobs. We did some nice vacations. Our life was, pretty decent. But I remember every time we came back from vacation, I was super depressed, like for at least 2 weeks. I was so depressed, like maybe that's an exaggeration, but I was not feeling okay. I was like, oh, wow, I really don't want to be here, especially when we went on vacation in fall or winter. We came back and it was so gray and cold, and I really didn't like it. And my husband and I always had this urge to kind of leave Germany and live somewhere else. I don't know, it was always for me, I was so intrigued into traveling and I enjoyed like discovering other parts of the world, and I knew that there were so many other beautiful cities and places to explore that I was like, well, why would I want to stay in Germany? For example, I always wanted to live close to the beach because I love walking on the beach and I just love the ocean. And I also wanted to have a place that's not necessarily hot all the time, but where you just have a lot of sun. Because here in Germany, we don't have sun in fall and winter. There's like days, maybe even a week, where you don't see the sun at all. And that's, for me, it's really depressing. Today, actually, it's June. I'm in Germany right now because we're making a little stop here to visit family and friends because we haven't seen them in 1.5 years. And today, it's June, it's summer. It's very dark and gray. Actually, had a hoodie on before I was filming this. So the weather here is not the best. Of course, living in Germany has a lot of advantages too, but for me, I just, they are not convincing enough for me to stay. So in 2019, a really great opportunity for the both of us came up because my husband got a job in Australia. So how did we end up in Bali and not in Australia? Well, as you know, there was a global pandemic, and this global pandemic changed up our plans quite a bit. So end of 2019, he got the job, we were ready, we were like selling everything, renting our apartment, selling our furniture, I was selling all my clothes. I made like a lot of money with selling all my clothes. I did a few videos on that on my German channel. And in March 2020, we were ready. We got rid of everything. We just had 2 suitcases left and we were just waiting on our visa to book our flights in April. And then the travel ban came and we were not able to leave anymore. We were stuck in Germany. The first lockdown came. We had no apartment left anymore. So we moved in with my mom for a little bit, which was an interesting experience. And we thought, yeah, well, it's gonna take like 3 months and then we're out of here. Well, yeah, it's 2 years later now. So we lived a bit with my mom. It was like 6 months because we couldn't we had no idea how long this would take. Then after 6 months, we were okay. we have to change the situation. So we moved to Berlin for a little bit, which was a nice and fun experience as well, because Berlin is a super cool city and we always wanted to live there as well for a bit. So we lived there for 3 months, and then we saw that Bali opened up and we were like, well, nothing here is holding us back. Literally, we have no apartment, we have almost no stuff, we have no responsibilities here. We can just go. And my husband was also working Australian hours, so he had to work in the middle of the night. And Bali, obviously, the time zone is a lot better. So we got our business visa and traveled to Bali. This was definitely the best decision of our life so far. We had the best time in the last 1.5 years in Bali. I cannot even describe it. I know I did a recent video on the truth about Bali and how it developed and how it is now, and I mentioned a lot of like negative things. I will list the video here for you, but I have to say the 1.5 years during the pandemic, we had the best time ever in Bali. And I actually cannot imagine living somewhere else in these last 1.5 years. It was really the best decision ever. I really have to say, like in probably many other countries, lockdown, the first wave of lockdown in Germany was not nice. It was really not nice. And I can imagine it was like this in a lot of countries. And as winter was approaching, when we booked our flights to Bali and the next lockdown was also approaching, we were like, okay, we gotta get out of here. And yeah, that's what we did. We flew to Bali, we arrived there, and everything was incredible. We had a lot of freedom in Bali, I have to say. There were some lockdowns here and there, but a lockdown in a tropical country where you maybe have your own villa and a pool is a bit different than a lockdown in Germany where you sit in your apartment and it's dark and gray outside and there's no sunshine. And most of the time we had a lot of freedom in Bali, I have to say that. Of course, there was a lot of uncertainty. We didn't know, how would it be in Bali? Like, are they really strict? What if something happens? What if we have to have an emergency, you have to go to the hospital, all those kind of things, you don't know them and you just have to go and see what it will be. So there's like this certainty and uncertainty and risk, but we risked something and we were very, very lucky with what we got in return. If things were different, would I still decide to move to Bali? This is a question that I got asked a couple of times and I always answer with yes, absolutely. We had the best time in Bali, and I cannot say this often enough, we really had. And just the life in Bali is so different, like the network you build, the community you have in Bali, just the experiences and the different life you live there. It's incredible. The energy in Bali, you make so many personal shifts in such a short amount of time, and I think Bali actually really changes you as a person, and usually in a positive way. So living in Bali for 1.5 years is definitely an experience that I don't want to miss, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend for everybody to go there for such a long amount of time, especially now since tourists are back. I mean, there are still places in Bali where you can find like your quiet space and your like place of zen, where it's not so touristy and you have your peace. But going to Bali for a couple of months and just living there and experiencing all of this is for sure a life-changing experience. And most of people go there for the intention to stay a couple of months and then just never go back. For us, it was a bit different because Bali always came with a deadline for us. Our intention was just to go to Bali and wait for our visa to arrive. And we never really knew how long this would take, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. And it ended up being 1.5 years. So we waited for our visa to Australia actually for 2 years, because now it's over 2 years later. Now we are actually getting ready to move to Australia. So we left Bali 2 weeks ago. We are now in Germany, sorting our things, visiting family, seeing friends, because when we go to Australia now, I don't think that we will go back to Europe this year again. So it was a good opportunity to mix these things up together. And I'm so excited because 3 years ago, I just absolutely fell in love with Australia. And we are moving to Gold Coast, which is incredible. So we have all these beautiful beaches. I'm so excited to do beach walks in the morning and see the sunrise at the beach. And in Gold Coast, it's also the perfect mix of beach vibes and also city vibes, because you have the high-rise buildings and the infrastructure, which I was starting to miss a little bit in Bali. So there are the beaches, but there's like no infrastructure or city vibes, which I was kind of missing a little bit. And I have the feeling that maybe in Gold Coast, we have like the best of both sides. So we have the Bali laid back vibe and the beaches, but also all the benefits of the Western world. So I'm really excited now to see how I will experience this new chapter in my life. Especially now, since we've been in Bali for the last 1.5 years, it's completely different than it would have been if we just moved from Germany to Australia, because I'm pretty much a different person as I was 2 years ago. I'm also super excited because moving to Australia will give me lots of new topics and things to explore and talk about on this channel outside of the digital nomad life. And if you have any wishes or questions or suggestions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm happy to hear what you have to say and what kind of videos you would like to see in the future. And this is pretty much it for this video. This is why I moved to Bali in the middle of the pandemic. And I didn't regret that decision. No, it was actually the best decision of my life. I hope you liked this video. Please leave a like if you did. And if you want to see more of these videos, and also subscribe, so I will see you in the next video. Bye.